Hey there. So here I am today talking human design with Adriana Keefe. We were connected a few months ago by a mutual coach friend, and she just got the impetus, Sarah Walton, to connect us. So we connected.
Naturally.
And then we ended up exchanging and I told her about my work and she told me about her work. So here she is today to explain human design. So thanks for coming on here.
Thank you for having me. I know I'm excited that we got to connect because I just love connecting with anyone who's in the healer realm. There's always so much I can continue to learn through that. So I am learning through talking to you every time I talk to you.
Yeah, I know. And then I had heard of human design before we spoke, but I didn't know much about it. I just know that my one spiritual teacher friend asked me about it or told me about it a couple of years ago, and she quickly looked me up and told me I was a projector. And she's like, "Oh my God, just like me." And then that was about it. I like jotted a couple notes and then I never even looked into it. And then with you, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I do remember this a little bit." But so I was happy to learn more and then to get some and I've been telling people about it too. I'm like, it's just another tool for introspection, another tool to like self-awareness. So tell me how you got into, I guess, human design first of all, and then we could break down, like your history of like what led you there.
Yeah. Well, I love that you said it's like another tool. It's like it doesn't matter what tool you use, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. So human design, I very much say the same thing. Take what you feel like you need. And if you don't, then there's other tools out there.
Yeah.
So long story short, God, it's a few years ago now, like 5 years ago, I had what I call my quarter life crisis. I was pregnant with my second daughter. I was in real estate, really high hustle energy, pounding the pavement kind of work. And I was miserable. I was so miserable. I recognized once, what was it, COVID? I don't remember oh no. So before that, I hired a life coach
Mhm.
and she introduced me to this thing called human design. And I remember looking at it for the very first time and thinking, holy, how does this know so much about me? All I did was input my birth data. And
Right.
immediately I'm a manifesting generator. So immediately it was like multi-passionate, multi-hyphenate, likes to do a lot of different things. And for me, in my life, I've always kind of been told or felt that I was a quitter because I take on new things and I'd get bored. And even boyfriends, I'd take on new relationships, get bored and move on. And that was just always how I was. And I struggled a lot with feeling like a quitter until she showed me this.
Yeah.
And that's what a manifesting generator is designed to do. Take on new exciting things that challenge them, maybe teach them to others. And then at some point, it's called like the MG plateau. You plateau, you are ready for growth in either another area or taking what you've learned and growing further. And that's how I'm designed to learn so many things, teach them to others, have fun with it, and move on.
Mhm.
And for a while, that was just with me on a personal level, like digging into that, not too deep. It kind of fell off my radar for a bit. I mean, pregnant, having kids, and life is busy. And then just a couple of years ago, it all kind of resurfaced, and I was trying to find out how to use my human design to grow my business. And it's such typical me. I wanted it all for business growth. I didn't actually want to do the personal development journey of it. Um, and then that started transforming everything else. People, like, I had a coach at the time who was like, "You're really good at this human design thing. Like, you know a lot about it. You should probably talk about that more." And I was like, "No, no, no, no. Imposter syndrome. It's astrology based." So I was like, "Oh God, that's too in depth. I could never." But then people just kept asking me, "What's this mean? What's that mean? What's my chart say about this?" And so over time, it just kind of fell onto my lap. And I just had to basically get the balls to say, "Hey, I'm a human design coach. If you want your chart read or whatever." And I started with that. And it's been a really, really fascinating journey. Um, I should back up and say, for anyone who doesn't know what human design is, like I said, it's astrology based, but it also combines the chakra system, quantum mechanics, the Kabbalah, the I Ching, and it essentially is like a science meets spirituality system that shows you how to tap into your body's consciousness as a decision making tool. So, how to listen to your body, communicate with your body to make the most aligned decisions for yourself. I mean, if you think about it, everything of every day is a decision. From the moment you step out of bed to the moment your head hits the pillow at night, you're making decisions. So imagine knowing how to listen to your body to make all the correct decisions for you and what that path would look like, instead of, everyone's familiar with the gut feeling, right? Oh, I had a feeling in my gut that this person wasn't right and I dated them anyway, or whatever. It's avoiding that feeling of, oh my God, my body told me it and I didn't listen.
Right.
Now, there's always going to be mistakes because it's a journey. It's learning of your body over time after years of conditioning to think with the brain. But that's what it helps you do. It helps you find who you're really designed to be, let go of the conditioning that people have placed on you throughout your life, like me being a quitter and feeling really down about that. And
Mhm.
instead I embrace it. I do a lot of different things and I love it. It's awesome.
Like me complaining about being tired all the time and feeling like I'm
Yeah.
lazy. And it's like, I'm fucking not lazy at all,
Yeah.
but I need rest.
Yeah.
And to see
I
that
just had that thought about the fairs you were talking about. I was like, and she's a projector, I'm pretty sure. So that would be terrible.
Yeah, before we hit record, I was telling her how I denied an invitation to like participate in a fair that would be like from 9 to 5. It's just way too much. Last week, I did a day-long event at a corporate environment to share my work, which was awesome. And it was like a manifestation come true and all of that. But like midway through the day, like I was like, shit, I need
Yeah.
I need to be in a quiet room away from everybody and just relax and restore for maybe 20 minutes. But like I'm like, somehow I have to, if I do these things continuously like that, either do them for shorter periods of time or just have it written into the contract that I need to take off and just go lay in my car or something for 20
Yes.
minutes, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Write it into your contract. Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. That's really important. But this is what I'm talking about. Like, you knew that about yourself,
Mhm.
but you still had to test it to like really know, to reinforce you being like, okay, next time I need to understand this better. I need
It's
to
like
do
I'm
this a
doing
different
my
way.
favorite things and I'm in a
Yeah.
really playful environment. It wasn't like they were draining me or anything, but I just get tired. And like
Yeah.
my husband's like, you've been tired since the day I met you. I'm like, I know, I don't complain that I'm tired, but I am, you know. And then
Yeah.
like the 3 hours of bursts of energies or something like that with the projector, and that really lines up too, where I just crank a lot out. Like it's like impressive what I can do in that concentrated time. But then yeah, there is like that staring off into space recovery time that's required.
Yeah. Very efficient. In those few hours, you're very efficient. You get so much done. And then you're just like, all right, I need a nap. I
And
literally do have clients that nap throughout the day. Yeah.
yeah, it's really essential and it makes such a huge difference. And whenever we want to like travel or have like day trips, my husband's like, what are we gonna do about when you need a break, you know? And it's like, so he's very conscious and he'll make sure that we'll have some kind of scheduled time where, because he can keep going. He's a
I
manifesting.
don't remember. Oh, he's a manifester. Okay. I couldn't remember if you knew what he was.
Both he and my youngest Andrew are both manifesting generators, and they really are. They like jump
Oh,
up,
okay. Yeah.
help.
Yeah.
Like they're the first out the door to unload groceries, you know, like what can I do for you? What do you need? And I'm like, oh my God, you guys are just like, they so fit the stereotype. So can you break, how many different types are there? I forget.
Yeah. So there's 5 types,
Mhm.
but technically 4 types. And I'll explain that. So there's 4 auras. And then there's 5 types that they've labeled. These types actually weren't a part of the original downloaded system, but for ease over time, the man, his name was Ra Aruhu, he has since passed. He put all of the findings together into categories. So it's at like the highest level. This is what you can find out about yourself that makes sense. So the 5 types are manifester, manifesting generator, projector, and reflector.
Okay.
The manifesting generator is a subtype kind of the generator. So it has the same aura. So sometimes if you're researching this on your own, you'll see that there's only 4 types. And that's what that means. There's 4 aura types, but 5 labels to them. I know they couldn't make it
What
any
do
more
they mean
confusing.
by aura? Because does it have anything to do with like real auras and like colors? Would they almost be in the same category of color or something like that? I would think a manifestation would be like orange or yellow, if that would be a color for them.
So I haven't done any studies on the colors itself, although I did have a weird experience in March where I think I actually saw someone's aura for the first time ever in my life. It was so weird. So I don't think that they're tied together in that way, but what they mean by the aura is the way that you feel about another person, like how your body kind of is communicating to the other people around you.
Mm-hmm.
and how you're asking the universe to help guide you. So for example, you're a projector, you have a very like honed in what's the word I'm looking for? When you are with someone, you can easily like hone in on like an exact problem that they need help with, help guide them. You're really great leaders. You're just like, it's like one to one, you're just like on that person. And you
Mm-hmm.
just, it's like you only see them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very like penetrating aura. Whereas with a generator type, either type, we have these big, warm, welcoming auras where like we walk into a room and people just feel like there's something about that person. I want to talk to them, like something around that where we just kind of pull the attention in toward us. And as a generator, that's important because we are designed to respond to things in our environment instead of forcing, instead of initiating a lot. And so this big welcoming aura is signaling to others and to the universe, send me things that I can respond to, send me opportunities, send me questions, send me all of this that I can say yes or no to in order to move forward with my decisions and on my path. And the projector, I mean, this is getting a bit far ahead, but your strategy is to wait to be invited into
Mm-hmm.
something. And so you don't really have that aura that's just like that asks the universe to send you all these millions of ideas and go and do and force things. Your aura is very much of you are showing up in your most efficient and like honed in self, and people see that about you and they're like, oh my god, can you come teach that where I am, or I want to sign up for your email list and learn more from you and all of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay.
know that it's like the things come to you. I remember that much.
Yeah.
And it's been
Yeah.
true. It's been true.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and then what was the last one? Reflector?
Reflector. Yeah. So all right, so I'll start at the top. The manifester
Mm-hmm.
is someone who is they're the initiator. They're the people who can think of an idea and go after it, and just they're kind of like the lone wolf. Sometimes they're seen as like really fast paced moving because they're just like boom, 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 on to the next thing, on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not always completing the first thing they started, but majority of the time that's okay unless there's something else that you need to work through. That's just how you're designed. So manifestors can often feel like quitters, just like I did,
Mm-hmm.
because the manifesting generator also has a little bit of that manifestor in them. But they are very introspective. They're the people who are kind of closed off to the rest of the world and want to just like take off on their own mission.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just beautiful as it is. And then the reflector is someone who's called a reflector because they're like the reflection of everything in their environment. They're the collective mirror. They're showing us the general health and stability and wellness of the environment that they're in, of the relationship that they're in, whoever they're around. They're reflecting back out
Mm-hmm.
whatever needs to be addressed or whatever is in like great health. Like you'll see it through a reflector.
Is there like it, I mean, I know that there's calculators online and you just punch in your birth date and your location, and that's where the astrology aspect comes into play. But do they incorporate numerology too with your name or anything like that, or no?
No, so fascinating. I just spoke to a numerologist like last month for the first time ever. And it's all so I really love the studies that show that every single religion ever created all goes back to the very same exact concept.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that same thing happen with human design, with astrology, with numerology. She pulled apart my name and did my numbers, and it literally was exactly what I know about myself through human design.
So cool.
And that's what I love about there's so many tools. Pick which one really
Because the
vibes with
same
you.
truth. Yeah.
It's the same truth.
Yeah.
You need to know, you need to make sure you have someone who knows what they're talking about, because there's a lot of fluff out there with all of these. There's a lot of people who are just like, oh, this is cool. I just want to take it and teach other people, and never really live that journey for themselves.
Mhm.
And that's what you just want to be careful of, is making sure you have a reputable person who's teaching you about these things.
Yeah, I have a client who mixes astrology and numerology. So she's looking at the degrees of the planets, and then she'll interpret the numbers and she'll notice the patterns. So it's like really, it's so interesting, you know?
Yes.
But so I wasn't sure like how else. I mean, I don't know that you can even answer it if you don't want to get into it because it's like too complicated, but like all of the moving parts that determine your profile. Like, so I don't know. I mean, I've heard of I Ching or I Ching. I don't know anything other than that. And the what's the other one?
Kabbalah.
Yeah. So it's like all those things, do they, is there some kind of astrology component to them? Is that what determines stuff? I don't know.
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry. It's like such a vast thing, but I just
no,
don't
I know, but
understand
I
it,
think the same way. And
Yeah.
as a manifesting generator, I'm like, oh my God, I would love to just take some time to study the Kabbalah.
Yeah.
Maybe even like go to Israel and like study Judaism. Like I'm so interested in all of that.
Mhm.
But what I can't say to that is exactly how astrology plays into Kabbalah or I Ching or anything like that,
Mhm.
except for the universal truth that all of those still lead back to the same exact belief. Everyone, no matter what religion you're in, whatever you believe in, they all have the same beginning.
Yeah.
So it could be all astrological based, honestly, because from what I've seen throughout my life, there you can't, it's the astrology and the planets and the imprint that it has on us as humans,
Yeah.
even through science that they're proving, like there's no undenying that, like,
Yeah.
or no undenying. What is wrong with me today? There's no denying that's some sort of truth. So my personal belief is that astrology plays in everything,
Mhm.
but I don't know for a fact.
Yeah, how it all weaves with that, because like this was like created by somebody like in the late 80s or something, right? Is that right?
Mhm. Yep, 1987, his name, and he changed it to Ra Aruhu after he had what he calls this is like spiritual awakening, and he was in Ibiza, Spain,
Mhm.
and had this massive download of this information, and he wrote for 8 days straight, wrote out this information that he was taking in. And when I first heard this, I was like, okay, like I went to school for science. Okay, this doesn't make sense, but whatever. I'll just take the information that I like and leave what doesn't. And then over the years of doing this work myself, I now have downloads. I now have intuitive hits and
Yeah.
pings, and I'm just like, all right, Jesus, I really, this could be a thing. He could have really downloaded all of this information.
Yeah.
That and the fact that it's so wildly accurate, I there was no other explanation for it. I don't know.
Yeah. And that's fine,
Mhm.
because I mean, I'm all about like appreciating things that I can't explain. So I don't really
Yes,
know.
we
I
have
just am
to.
curious,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and then there's like the profile, like the
Mhm.
numbers or whatever.
Yeah.
And then what is there a third aspect too? I don't remember. Like I know the
So
shows or whatever.
the three biggest things that I like to lead with, because it can be so overwhelming,
I'm sure.
are your type strategy, which is kind of what I was talking about with generator types being responding,
Mhm.
and whatnot. And then your authority, which is the way you're designed to make decisions. For me, for example, I have emotional authority. So it's my defined solar plexus, which means I have really high highs and low emotions. Like it's a roller coaster of emotions, and I have to wait until I find a complete clarity through those emotions instead of making like I want to do it and then regretting it later. And then the third piece would be the profile. I love the profile. Um,
And
you have two
there's
numbers.
a few different types that they can be. It's like,
Yeah.
but it's not every single version. It's like this or that. It's like 3 different types or what?
Yeah, there's 6 profile
Okay.
lines, and these tell you how you see yourself and how the world sees you as your personality, how you're showing up in this life to reach your ultimate path and to show up as your authentic self. And so for me, my profile lines are 4 and 6. The
Mhm.
4 means that I'm someone who finds the majority of my opportunity through my network. I love relationships. I love being a part of a big network. I have a large social circle. That's what that means. And that was after much of my own deep rooted work, because when I first saw that number, I was like, hell no, that's not me. And I'll save that story for another time. But if it doesn't resonate with you, there's something there. There's a story that's from your childhood or whatever that's kind of blocking that. Um, and then the 6, meaning the 6 is the role model. This is someone who, after a lot of rough, rocky roads in their life, likely trauma, they then disengage from that. They go inward and they learn from it. And then they rise up as like this role model figure who's now helping the collective.
Mhm.
And I would have, again, never said that about myself. But then out years of people reaching out to me saying, I just love watching you. I just love seeing what you're doing. Can you tell me what podcast you're listening to? Can you tell me what you're reading? And all of that was just like, oh my God, I am showing up as that person and I didn't even know it.
Right.
But yeah, there's 6 lines in total. Do you remember you had to 2?
I think it's
You had a hermit.
2/4 or
That's right. 2, yeah, 2, 4, yeah. So, and your 2 line is someone who is very much, they call it the hermit, but it means your environment's really important. So
Mhm.
that on top of a projector, your energy could be easily drained if you're not caring for it properly. And
Mhm.
knowing that you work in your best way when you're alone to just like hone in, do your thing,
Mhm.
and then whatever else needs to be done. But it's interesting with the 4. I had this conversation yesterday, actually. The person that I recorded for my podcast, which it's not going to be a couple months till it's out, but she's a 2/4, and she also teaches human design. And she talks about how contradictory it can feel because the 2 is telling you you're a hermit, and the 4 is like, no, you have a big social circle, like go do things. And she just had this beautiful way of saying how that shows up for her, kind
Mhm.
of like a rest and retreat, but also like dive in and make those connections and then retreat again. And it's just fascinating to see those 2. But I see that too in you 1,000%.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I can be very public, and I can also just be, like, in my little hole.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and I don't remember any other details. Those were the ones that I remembered, and, like, after we spoke, and you gave me my little, my summary and all that, then I, like, dove in on it and was listening. I was, like, in the car for a long time one day, so I was, like, putting on different people on, like, YouTube or whatever, just hearing their explanations of everything, and it was really interesting. But I don't remember any other the bitterness, that was another thing, like, how do you get annoyed, or
You're
what
not
that
self theme.
yeah, oh, you're not self,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So you're not self is like your red flag that shows up
Shadow
for
side
you.
or something.
When you're like totally out of alignment, when you're
Mhm,
not following your body. And
mhm,
yeah, for you as a projector, it's bitterness. It's you'll
mhm,
feel bitter, or the people you're trying to force an opinion on will feel bitter, anyone in that situation. And bitterness is something, it's so funny. Like before I knew human design, and if someone were to ask me, doesn't everyone, like, are you frustrated when things don't work? I'm like, doesn't everyone? And
yeah,
it turns out, no. Turns out that frustration is not the front runner, like, energy and emotion behind everyone's mishaps. It can be
mhm,
bitterness. It
right.
can be anger. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense now.
So how many types of them are there? Like, is it automatically connected to the profile type?
The
Like
type,
projector
not the
or
profile, but yeah. So manifestor, you're not self-theme is anger.
mhm,
Generator, it's frustration. Manifesting generator, it's frustration and or anger. I have
yeah,
specific moments when I can feel either one come up. Like, I have a sign on my door that you can swipe it left and right for busy, do not disturb, or well, just knock. And because we have kids and a nanny at home, that can be disastrous. And if my husband just walks in and I'm like really focused on something, I just go straight to angry. Like
yeah,
I'm just angry that I'm interrupted in the moment. And I've come to learn that's the manifestor side of me a little bit.
right.
Um, Projector is bitterness and reflector is disappointment.
Okay. I don't know anybody who's a reflector. I think that
Yeah,
my
they're only 1% of the population, but actually one of my clients right now is my first reflector client that I'm working with.
yeah, yeah, so because when I ran my immediate family, I think that my oldest was just a generator, not a manifesting generator like
Hmm.
the other 2. So,
Yep.
I know. So any other, basic information you wanna share about it? Like, do we cover a lot? Or do you wanna, like, give, like, a case study or something like that? I don't know.
Ooh. Um, well, something actually that just came up this week when I was in New York City with my mastermind. I was talking to one of them about her chart, and I can't remember her profile lines. I want to say she was like a 6'4" or 6'2". Um, but she was saying how, oh no, she was a 5'1". There it is. She's a 5'1". And I know that means nothing to a lot of your listeners right now, but basically that has nothing to do with trial and error. And as she was talking to me, she was like, I'm very much someone who has to I have to do things before I can know if they work. And that sounds like such a line 3 trial and error. It's called the martyr line or experiential line. It sounded so line 3 that I was like, that's interesting because your lines are 5-1. And I looked at her chart and I saw in her Mars was a line 3. So it can go so in depth where like each planet has their own line and the way it shows up for you.
Oh,
And
really?
Mars is,
I didn't know the planets were in that chart. I guess
yeah,
the chart doesn't show
yeah.
it. Okay.
Oh, it's on the sides.
Oh,
So you'll see that one side is your design and one side is your personality. So subconscious, conscious. And I said, and Mars is about work and
yeah, yeah.
career. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, do you feel like a lot of your trial and error is all work? And she's like, literally, that's all it, like, I don't do that really in my personal life, but in my work life,
Hmm.
I have to trial and error everything. And there it was right there in her Mars in line 3. And it's just so fascinating what you can find out. If there's a certain piece that doesn't resonate on the surface level, I guarantee it does when you dive deeper. There's a
Yeah.
lot that goes into it. And I used to talk so in depth about stuff because I was so excited, but then it would overwhelm people. So
Yeah.
right now, I always say, like, start off with your strategy, your authority, and your profile,
Yeah.
maybe even just 2 at a time.
Mhm.
And you can find so much information on my website. They can get their chart there and everything. And there's free guides, free workshops. And then after that is when it gets like the really juicy part of deconditioning. I
Mhm.
specifically focus on it through the human design centers, which are based on the chakra centers,
Mhm.
but in they said that in 1781, I want to say, there was like a shift in humanity where we became 9-centered beings instead of 7-centered beings. So in human design, we focus on the 9 centers and we go through the deconditioning of what life has led you to believe you should act as
Yeah.
or feel or think, and really letting you come back home to what your centers are designed to help you with.
I
That would
think
be like the next step.
that was your comment with me. You're like, you are in alignment. Like you're like,
Mhm.
usually you're telling people stuff and it's like incongruent with how they're living their life because
Yeah.
they're trying to match a mold or whatever that
Mhm.
society has given them. And you're
Yeah.
like, you don't have any like you are living. I was
Mhm.
like, thanks. But
Thank
it's
you. Yes.
yeah. But yeah, so I'm sure it can be pretty profound for people if they are
Yeah.
out of sync, kind of a thing. So I'm sure you
Mhm.
lots of transformations with empowering people with this knowledge and stuff too, right?
Yes. That's what I seek to provide is validity and empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
Just knowing that, yeah, you feel what you feel because you are designed that way.
Yeah.
And so many people, just especially moms, walking through life feeling like they're supposed to show up as one way, and down under it just feels like they're struggling to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because there's the true them that's being hidden, because, and it's not their fault.
Right.
It's everyone else. It's society telling, shame on you if you do it any other way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very much like, if for anyone who's watching this video, you can see I've always rebelled. I have bright red hair and I have like tattoos and piercings in weird places. And I was like the black sheep of my family. And it's actually becoming more mainstream now to be that black sheep. And I'm so here for that. Like, step out and say that this life isn't what you want. That's the
Yeah.
that's the beauty. It's your life. I don't want to have it any other way.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's like it's too much energy to push against what comes naturally.
Hmm.
That's I guess where I was always like, no, this is who I am.
Hmm.
What do people like if they were to have a session with you? How does that go?
Yeah, I do human design chart readings, like one off for 60 minutes if they want to just start understanding their chart.
Mm-hmm.
But I also recently in May opened a membership. It's still in beta right now. It was birthed out of students and clients asking like, okay, but do you have like an alumni group, or how can I keep this going if I feel like I've moved on from the one-to-one work or whatever. So I started putting together this membership community. It's still in the very early founding member phases, but I'm looking for that to be the space where people can continue their journey, continue that support, and feel like they're in a community that understands them and holds them in that safe space to let go of everything else and come back home to themselves. Of course, I do the one-to-one coaching if anyone feels like they need that more personal, like life transformation, like I am down in the dumps, got to figure this out kind of coaching
Right. Right.
as well,
Yeah.
as well as business.
But you're not otherwise like like people don't need to book a series of appointments to like get to the bottoms of things, or you don't have anything like that, like where it's like, oh, you should really come 3 times to like go in depth on things, or
When they book the session, they can tell me what their specific question is. So sometimes I have people who are brand new to human design who just want to understand the basics. And then sometimes I have people who have had their chart reads in the past, whether by me or someone else, and are like, I just really want to revisit this specific topic with you. Can we dive into this?
right.
That being said, they can do as many one-off sessions as they'd like, but it would almost make more sense to just have me in their back pocket in the coaching container instead of doing that,
Right.
because then they get to contact me like every day, Monday through Friday, I'm on Voxer talking to my clients. So it would depend on how in depth they want to go.
Right. Right. Well, that's awesome. Is there anything else you want to bring up or mention or share? 'Cause
I know, I feel like I just shared a lot.
I know,
Um,
like, I'm like, I don't know how much more you want to get into.
I mean, I guess just the other piece would be, I I believe that you are your most magnetic self when you're in alignment. And I think that a lot of people are teaching that these days, but the point of that is to really let life be easier and not feel so forced, and to really let the universe, God, source, whatever you believe in, to bring things to you and allow you to flow through life in a more exciting way. This is much more than just about making a decision that's correctly for you. This is about the lifelong journey and process of living authentically and in alignment and just feeling good, feeling magnetic day in and day out, and loving your life. It's just so much deeper than just this initial chart reading, for me at least, and for a lot of my clients. So I just want people to understand that it's worth looking into if you're feeling like
Yeah.
something's off.
Any little hidden nooks in your personality that you kind of like didn't give attention to or whatever. Now,
Yeah.
is there like a compatibility thing where it's like, ooh, this person and that, like this type and that type are a bad match, or is it, are there like any absolutes like that, or no?
So I wouldn't say absolutes. There's definitely relationship. I've done relationship readings and whatnot, and there is compatibility. There's compatibility components. There's gates in your chart at each center, and sometimes like someone might have one gate lit up and defined in their chart. Someone might have the other piece, and together they kind of form this new channel of energy. There's different pieces like that, yes. And a lot of people these days are so conditioned, so not in their authentic self, that you could be in a relationship with someone who is technically, by a design standpoint, the perfect match for you. And it could be toxic. It could be not working. It could be whatever, because they're just so not in alignment. So yes, and
Yeah.
real world problems.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure that, because it's like in the astrology world, like, my husband's a Libra and I'm a Taurus. My moon is in Libra and his moon is in Taurus. So like we are very,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So we like kind of get it, get an understanding of one another in
Yeah.
a deep way. So I wasn't sure if that was like, but there's so many other moving parts that I don't know that
Yeah.
I could just categorize it like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, on
Mm.
a basic level, yes, but also on an in-depth level, yes. Like my husband and I, you can see it in our charts. There's specific chemistry as far as like sexuality and relationships that we have together that's like undeniable. And we felt it from the first time we even met. And it was kind of confirmed looking at our charts, which was really crazy.
That's neat. It must be neat to
Yeah.
like if you had the accessibility to check out couples charts and to see how
Hmm.
they work together and stuff. That's neat. And
Yeah.
me and my husband, I was like, is this lust or is this love? I'm very confused because like, we hit it off so magnetically at first, kind of like,
Yeah.
so
Same.
yeah,
Yep.
it's a good thing.
It is.
Well, thanks for talking and sharing this. And like, where can people find you if they are looking for, to get a reading with you?
Yeah, thank you for having me. My website's adrianakeefe.com. I have the podcast, the No BS Human Design Podcast. And then I'm mostly on Instagram other than that. And that's Audrey Keefe, ADRI Keefe.
Okay. Well, and I'll put it all in the notes too. So thank you for spending some time, and I hope you hear from some people.
Thank you. I appreciate you letting me be here.
Sure.